Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. In this video I'm gonna show you how you can achieve a cool hover effect on images. And as you can see here, as I hover over this area, I switch between two images, and that's basically being possible using Three.js and shaders. As you have already probably guessed, this is a plane geometry, and I have two image textures here, and as you can see, as I hover over, I switch between the images using a very cool transition, as you see here. And this is just one example of the transitions. We'll see how you can change the different transitions and use whatever you want. Again, this is gonna be using Three.js and vertex and fragment shaders. I'm really excited. This is really cool. I hope you guys are excited too. And so without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so here I have my starter code, and this is my Webpack boilerplate. You guys, if you've been following the channel, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, I'll put a link to the boilerplate, and you can go check that video out. And by the way, I will also have the final code here on GitHub, and I'll put the link in the description box below the video so you can access the final code for this video on GitHub as well. So don't worry about that. But for my Three.js page where I will be doing my stuff, I have my pug file here, Three.js.pug. I have a little bit of text up there, and then I have my canvas where I put my Three.js stuff in it, and that's all under views, pages, pug.3js.pug. And then in my Three.js SCSL Sass file, under styles, pages, and Three.js here, I have a little bit of styling for the text, and of course I have my canvas styling to take the whole screen. And finally, for my index.js file where I do all my Three.js related stuff, I have it under app canvas Three.js index.js over here. And this is the structure that I've had in almost all my Three.js related videos. So if you don't know what these are, go check out my previous videos. And for this index.js file, I have my basic Three.js setup here. I'm accessing my canvas here, and then I'm setting up my scene camera. I'm setting up my renderer as well, and setting size and pixel ratio and all the other things that we've seen before. I'll put a link to my video on introduction to Three.js as well, so you can go and check that out if you don't know what these are. And then that's mostly about it. We have our update function, resize function, and then destroy, which gets rid of all the elements, all the objects in the scene once we move away from this Three.js screen. So what you would need to do is to npm install inside the directory, and then once you do that, you'll just type npm start, and that's the start script for this project folder. So once you do that, you can go to localhost 3000, and under the Three.js endpoint, you should see like well, you will have the final code, but right now I can see my text and also just my screen that is set up, my scene here, and nothing in it yet. I just have like the text that I had here. Visit latenightcoders.club and join the community. So that's all I have for now, and now we're going to start adding things to our scene. Okay, so the first step is to add our plane geometry and textures, and I'm gonna do that inside the function that I'm gonna define. I'll call it load textures, and I'm just gonna write the function right below the constructor where I refer to the function. So here I'm gonna first add my textures using Three.js's texture loader. I have two images and they are both under static images and textures here. So I have my pink logo and purple logo, and so I'm gonna use these. And for now I'm not gonna really use these, but I just loaded them, and I will have my plane geometry here. So plane buffer geometry, I know my images are kind of square, so I have the same width and height for my plane geometry. And right now I'm just giving it a mesh basic material with color of red, and then I'm adding these two to create my mesh. And of course you shouldn't forget to add your mesh or plane here to the scene. Once we do that and save this over here, let's make sure this is running. Yeah, this is running over here, our server. And going back to this page over here under Three.js endpoint, I see my red plane here, so everything's working well, and that part is done. And the next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna replace this plane material with our shader material, because that's how we're gonna take care of the transition between the two images as we hover over them. So it's gonna be at the beginning, we're just gonna do a simple shader material with vertex shader and fragment shader. So we're gonna go up here and import our files. So I have the original shader files, fragment glsl and vertex glsl here, so I'm importing them here. Let's go take a look what we have here. For my vertex.glsl, it's just a basic setup, and again I put a link to the video that I explain what all these things is. This is just like my projection matrix by view matrix, and then I have my vec4 position here, and that will basically form my geo position here. And that's all we need for vertex glsl. We are actually not gonna make any changes here, everything is gonna be in the fragment glsl. All we need is to give the UV basically from here, make it also available in our fragment glsl. So that's why I'm doing vuv here using a varying. So I'm storing the value of uv here. And let's go to our fragment over here. So fragment again is just very simple. I have my vuv here, which I brought from the vertex glsl, and I also am not using it right now, just a simple red color RGBA out of 1 and alpha of 1. And then I have my color assigned to geofrag color. Again, this is part of the basic structure of vertex and fragment shader that I have already explained in one of my previous videos, so make sure to go check that out. So these files are saved. Now if I save my index.js file where I imported these two files and used them in my plain material, we should see the same thing basically. This time, instead of having a mesh basic material, I have my shader material, and that's what we've defined here, our RGBA here. Okay, so this next step, we're going to pass the textures to our fragment glsl file, because that's where we want to have them and then add them to our plane. So to do that, we're gonna pass them as uniforms. So I have a ulogo1 texture and ulogo2 texture, where I'm passing these two textures to my shader material, and I can save it over here in my glsl file, fragment glsl. Let me put it over here, and I'm going to receive these uniforms, and basically this is how we receive them. The textures are gonna be sampler 2D, and keep mentioning this. If these don't make sense to you, go back first, check my other video where I explained shaders there. Here I have my sampler 2D for each of these textures that I received, and in my main file I'm gonna get rid of what I already have here, and then I am going to use these textures to create vec4s of texture 2D basically for these each logo. I'm gonna use VUV. UV is the UV coordinate, so it's two-dimensional coordinate, and we have our sampler two-dimensional here. So combining these together, we're gonna have vec4s here, and then the original goal for us is when I hover over one image, I want to transition to the other one. So we need to capture the hover event in our index.js file, and then basically pass something as uniform again to our shader material, and then use that here to switch between the two textures. So what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna go inside my mouse move. That's where I will be adding my hover event. So before that, up here in my constructor, we're gonna define our raycaster, because that's how we're gonna capture the hover effect using raycaster. And again, I have another video for that as well. Go check out my channel. Down here in mouse movement section here on mouse move function, I will get the x and y coordinates of the mouse depending on where my actual cursor is in the scene. And then after that I'm gonna do raycasting, and that's basically using this set from camera. I'm gonna do that using my mouse and camera, and then the object that I want to capture the intersection with is my plane, which I have defined up here, the currently red plane that we have, and we are planning to put our images on as textures. And then so once I have the intersection, then I will want to basically have a hover state uniform here inside my uniform, that when I have the intersections, when I intersect my mouse cursor intersects with the object, I change this value to 1, and when it's not intersecting, it's gonna be 0. So this uHover state is gonna capture hover state as the name suggests. And so if my intersect length is greater than 0, it means I have an intersect. I'm gonna assign the plane materials uniforms uHover state value to 1, and then I'm gonna assign the value of uHover state in my uniforms for the plane material to 0 if we don't have any intersect there. So let's save this file, and we need to receive that uHover state in our fragment file. So I'm gonna receive it basically by defining a uniform which is gonna be a float to 1 or 0. That's how we receive them, as a float here. And I'm just gonna use the mix function that we have used previously also to show mix these two images or textures using the percentage that the hover state will give us to have our final texture on the plane. And so if we go to the book of shaders, there is an explanation for this mix function using different colors and a percentage, but here instead of colors we are using two different textures, and depending on this is also going to be uHover state, it's going to be 0 or 1, which is our percentage. So if I save it over here, and I'll come back to it and explain a little bit more in a sec, but let's see what happens over here. Let me refresh my page. And so I have my purple image here, and as I hover, it changes, it switches to my pink image. And so let's see, my logo 1 over here is my purple and logo 2 is my pink. So when hover state is at 1, it means I should see logo 2, which is my pink. And if it's hover state, English is hard. Hover state is 0, then I should see my logo 1, which is purple. So if I'm not hovering, I'm seeing purple, and once I hover, now I have 100% or just 1 for hover state, and I only see the logo 2, which is the pink. So that's how you interpret this. If I have 1 here, I see the second one here. If I have 0, I'll see the first one, which is my logo 1. So when I don't have any hover, it's gonna be purple. When I hover, it's gonna be the pink. Now that's just an easy hover state. You could have done it probably using CSS or something to change opacities or display of one of images and show the other one. So that's not a big deal. And the next step for us is to add a cool transition effect as we go from one texture to the other. We want to make sure that we have also a cool transition effect. Okay, so before we get to the transition, so the whole idea of this video was based on this JavaScript library that I found, hover effect, and I haven't actually looked at the source code for this, but the idea was when I looked at this demo over here, we have this cool transition effect, and just looking at the files that they have here, the idea is to use a displacement image, as you can see here. For this library, you have image 1, image 2, and a displacement image, where when you transition, you kind of play with that displacement image, and it gives you the cool hover effect that you saw over here. And it depends on what displacement image you select, this hover effect can be different. So that's the idea behind what we are going to do here as well. So right now I have 2 images here, which are my main images. The next step is to use a third image as a displacement image, so that we can kind of manipulate that image while we transition from our the purple image to the pink image, or vice versa, and that will give us the transition that we're looking for. A quick announcement before we get to the rest of this video, and you might have already noticed in the beginning section of the video that we have our YouTube channel website ready now, latenightcoders.club, and that's where I basically plan to have everything related to channel, all my courses, and we also have a community here. So I'm very excited about this new place where everything's gonna be under one single roof for you guys to have easy access to. And right now I have my Webflow masterclass here, just my only course at the moment, but I'm planning to add more courses. One of them is a Three.js course that I'm starting to work on, and it will be available hopefully by the end of the year or even sooner. So make sure to check out the website frequently. And also there is this community here where I'm actually very excited about this, because this is where I want you guys all get together and start collaborating with each other, talk about different topics, and you can ask questions from others. You have access to me here as well, and you can do the general plan here, which is free, or you can do the $5 per month plan, where you will have access to all the courses also for free, as long as you have the membership. And as I said, I will also have my Three.js course, which you will have access for free if you sign up for this plan. Anyways, you can select your plan, and then just all you need is an email address, and once you do that, you will have access to the community and everything. um, the main separator between different sections of the community are these topics. So we have like general, new developers, 3JS webflow. These are different topics, and I will be adding more as the community grows. But make sure to go ahead and check the get started section. There is a poster that you can start setting up your account. It all takes like 1 minute to read the whole thing and set up your account, and then after that, I would assume you guys are interested in 3JS, so make sure to follow this topic as well. And I already have a post there where you can suggest what you want me to include in the 3JS course that I'm putting together. So definitely go there. I want to hear your recommendations, and I want to make sure that my course includes things that you are most interested in. So definitely go ahead and add comments here and let me know what you want to see in the course. And once you purchase your courses or things like that, you will see everything under the products section here. um, so yeah, I'm very excited about this community and the whole website. Make sure to check it out, and in the community also, if there are announcements, this will be my main resource, my main platform to communicate with you guys as well. All right, with that, let's get back to the rest of the video. Now we need to add a displacement image here. And we're gonna start with an image that I already have. So in my images folder, I have this portfolio one image, which I can open here. This is the image that I have. And then I'm going to add that as a uniform so that I can pass it to my fragment GLSO. So let's close that sidebar, and I'm going to do udisp here as the name for this, and it's just texture loader again dot load, and then I have my image portfolio one.jpg file. And so we need to get that here. Let me save it over here. Let's receive this as uniform over here, udisp, same name. And then I'm gonna do the same thing we did with the other two image textures here. So I'm gonna do the texture to the kind of like transformation here to get my vector 4. And then now here, this uhover state needs to be modified, because as of now that's just 0 and 1, and as we go from like as I hover over the image, it just goes from one image to another. We need to kind of take into account the new texture that we also have, and so we can manipulate this value and then bring like a newer value over here. And to do that, there might be multiple ways to do it, but what I'm trying to do here, I'm gonna define a percentage, because this is a percentage, not 0 to 100 but 0 to 1. And then I'm gonna get, let's say, the R value for this. This vec4 has RGBA, so let's say I get the R value of that, and then negative, like minus uhover state, either 0 or 1. And then I want to make sure that this value that I'm gonna put here, which is going to be the percentage, not the hover state anymore, this percentage, I want to make sure that stays between 0 and 1, because that's what we need to have here. This is a number between 0 and 1, and we use clamp for that. And if we can look at the book of shaders here, you can see the definition of clamp. So basically the value that we want to constrain is the first value, and then we have min and max value. So I want to make sure whatever this number is falls within 0 and 1, and so that's why I use clamp here. You can see this kind of like chart over here. It's making sure that it's either 0 or 1 or something like a number between the two. And so if I save it like this, and again, this value, you might come up with different scenario here, like you might take the G or B here, or we also, and we will add like multiply it by a value. We'll see how that works. But as of right now here, if we go and check out our plane geometry, our images, you will see that by default I have like that image, the displacement image, also showing up here. In some parts I can see like the buildings, but like the other areas I just see this my purple image. And if we go back to this image, you see this one is like black, and the RGB, the R value for that, if I take a look here, you can see R is 0. And so what that means is that for that like fragment of my whole texture, the R value is 0. When I hover over, this is gonna be 1. So 0 minus 1 is going to be -1. And then looking at this clamp value, that -1 is going to be clamped to 0. So the percentage is going to be 0 for these areas that are black. And if we have a 0 percentage, remember with 0 percentage, we get this logo 1. And logo 1 was our purple image here. So for the areas that we had that like night, like the sky with the black color, we are only getting my purple color here. And that's like why it's like showing purple only for this. And for the rest, it's kind of a mixture of the three image, kind of like the pink image and also my the rest of this portfolio one. So this portfolio one is probably not the best image, and I want to kind of like modify what I have here a little bit more. Since we have hover state here, and what I'm doing here is like transition between 0 and 1 immediately, we can actually use GSAP here so that the transition is more like it's not 0 and 1, it goes like between the two. So what I can do is just use GSAP2 using greensock library, and so if we intersect, we're gonna go from 0 to 1, and if we don't intersect, we're gonna go from 1 to 0. So you can see the transition better there. Make sure to import GSAP also, so I have it here. And then if I go back over here, now it's not gonna be like that 0 1. You'll see a little bit of transformation. It's not probably totally like visible here, but that's better. Like you can add duration also to this here, so it might not look like that we actually change anything. But if you want to have duration, now you can do like duration of 1 second, 2 second, or whatever. Or you can change the easing, and you can go to like the greensock ease visualizer here, and I put these links in the description box below this video. You can like change the eases and then see how this goes from 0 to 1 or 1 to 0. But right now that's fine. Here I'm gonna test one more thing, and I'm gonna actually multiply this value by 20. And then if we do that here, we're still going to be clamping the whole value somewhere between 0 to 1. But now I had that 20 multiplied there, and then you can see that like this side is actually like more pinkish. So now we can kind of see the transition between the two image. If this is something that you want to have, hey, we're done here, okay? But the goal is kind of like transition between the two image, like fully from one image to the other. And so to achieve that, we need to find a good texture for this displacement image. And the key there, again, going back to the hover effect library that we have. If you go and look at their example over here in images and displacement, the key is that these images are like kind of gray and white, and with the formula that I'm using actually here with the displacement, the R value, and the way I have it, it feels like kind of like what they are doing here as well. So all these like gray and white images are actually going to work better. So to show that, actually what I can do, let's say this 10, I can open it in a new window, and then I can copy this image, and let's go and replace this guy over here. And then now my displacement image is gonna be that one. So let's go back to, it's gonna be this, and let's see how that works here. So since we have gray and white, now I have my pink at the beginning, and then you can see that like effect with the displacement here, the displacement image, you can see like the darker parts, like pay attention to the top left corner, for example. So I hover over that top left corner, it's kind of like already kind of like pink. I'm in purple, and then you see transition in other areas as well, and that's again because of different colors here. We can try another one, for example. Let's see, go and check out maybe this one. Let's check this one out. Make sure to get this the raw GitHub user content link, because the other link, if you just directly get it from the page itself, it won't work. Like if you like copy image address here, you should like open it as an image and then get the link from there. But here now we have another image, so this is like another effect that I have. Okay, so that's another effect. And then you can go basically look for gray and white images, and there's another one that I can actually show you right now, grabbing it from my other screen here. So this is also another image, and then using this one, for example, I have like a better maybe a better transition. So you can see like I have kind of like this, that like the transition is not kind of fully happening, like still I have like these purple here, but like maybe this is what you want. So again, work with different images. You can go to this page and find something there that is best for you, or like try and find a displacement image, like maybe Google it, or find some gray and white images. Again, depends on kind of like what formula you use here, but for what I have here, it seems like that's the best option, having like a gray and white image as a displacement image. Alright, so that's about it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you liked the video, make sure to hit the like button below the video, share the video, help this channel to grow, and I really appreciate you guys for doing that. Don't forget to go and check out the latenightcoders.club website, join the community, ask questions there about videos, video suggestions for the YouTube channel, not just for the course that I'm putting together, but also for the channel. If you have any video suggestions, go and let me know. Thank you very much, everyone, and I'll talk to you guys soon.